Coming up on this week's show, Trina Lane is here as part of the 2017 GRL blog tour. Plus, we get the scoop on Joyfully J's Reading Challenge Month.
Welcome to the Big Gay Fiction Podcast, the show for readers and writers of gay romance fiction. If you can read it, write it, watch it, or listen to it, these two guys are going to talk about it. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Adams and Will Knaus.
Welcome to episode 99 of Jeff and Will's Big Gay Fiction Podcast. I'm Jeff from JeffAdamsWrites.com.
And I'm Will from WillKnaus.com. This week's episode is brought to you in part by listeners just like you. We'll have a little bit more information on how you can help support this show in just a few moments.
Indeed. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I made it out alive.
You did.
I did.
It was a busy week for both of us.
Indeed.
So, we talked last week that over the weekend we got edits for both of our books. The book that we co-wrote, The Hockey Player's Heart, and the book that is the second in the Codename Winger series called Schooled. These edits both showed up at the same time, well, within a day of each other, and we're both due back within a day of each other. So this was your first time doing major edits like this, and you texted me, I think it was on Tuesday, while I was out of town, that the book was going to kill him. We did survive, because you're here right now.
I did make it through. I pulled through somehow.
You did.
Yes, I did. Yeah. It's hard. There's no two ways about it. I think, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really gathered my thoughts, and I'll try and do that right now. First of all, Word is the devil. After he unleashed Donald Trump on the world, he created Microsoft Word. That's how I feel about Microsoft Word. So that wasn't fun.
Yeah, and we should specify that this was really, I mean, you've written stuff in Word for years, but this is the first time you've dealt in the whole world of track changes and comments and all that stuff.
God, I swear.
I swear I tried to teach him ahead of time. I did.
You taught me good enough that I,
That you learned to hate it.
I struggled through it. I thought the book was going to kill me at one point, but I made it through. You talked me down from that particular ledge, and we got through it. I did a rough, fast pass, and then you went back afterwards and cleaned it up, and we sent that bad boy in on Friday night.
Yes, we did.
And you worked your butt off all day yesterday, and worked on your book.
Yeah, there was a lot for me to do in school after I was able to clear up some of the commas. The commas are always the fast thing to clean up, even though there's about 1 million billion of them floating around in these books. But I have me and passive verbs, I swear. Passive verbs I can't get away from them in the first draft. I try to clean them up before I send them in, and then there's still ones that need to be tidied up. So that was the majority of what I cleaned up in this first pass for Schooled was passive verb use. And I was up until 11 o'clock last night, chugging away, trying to knock those down and clean up some other stuff to do. And probably in about a week we'll do round 2,
yeah.
I suspect, for both. I do feel that both books are better, and I really like some of the stuff that you added to Hockey Player's Heart.
Why, thank you.
You added some nice nuances in there. So
my work is not for naught.
No, it is not. And congratulations on getting through your first.
Yay, me!
I was gone this week. I was back in LA for work, and I think I mentioned that it was going to be the week where I finally got to try out Dragon Dictation's transcription program. And so I took a little voice recorder down with me because Apple headphones plugged into an iPhone don't capture the audio quality quite enough to do the dictation, the transcription rather, accurately, because I tested that before I left. I throw out a lot of words when I'm just talking to the little recorder doodad. I was doing 1,000+ words in a 20-minute segment. So I did 2 minutes one morning and coughed up like 2,200 words. It was pretty epic because that far outweighs my 600-ish word typing in 20 minutes, and it's also faster than I was doing when I was sort of watching the words come up on the screen as well, which just proves the point that a lot of the people who use Dragon said is that you do perform faster when you're not actually watching the words crop up, which I wasn't 100% sure of because sometimes I wasn't sure I'd keep my story thought.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
But I think I kept it going, and I put it all into Dragon when I got home, and it coughed up all these words, which I think on my first scan looked pretty right. So I think I've at least got something I can hammer into a appropriate second draft when it's time to go back and edit. So I'm going to play with transcription this coming week rather than dictation and see what that does to my word count.
Cool.
Because I need to power through some words this week if I'm going to have to edit the following week.
Yeah.
We should also mention, we hope that our listeners that are in Texas are safe. Quite the hurricane passed through over this weekend. And so those of you in Houston and Galveston and Corpus Christi and stuff, we hope all of you are doing fine and stay safe and don't wash away because it sounds like the rain continues. Want to talk about Cycle for the Cause again? I brought this up last week. While I cannot get to New York to participate this year, I do want to encourage everyone to donate to this cause. $100 does so much. It gives 10 HIV plus people the help they need to lead happy, healthy lives. It administers 8 HIV tests so that people know their status to stay healthy. And it can help prevent 7 HIV transmissions by distributing safer sex kits. Now, whether it's 100 of you out there donating $1 or one of you donating $100, the more $100 increments we can raise, the better, so that these services can be provided. If you personally donate $100, I will be happy to send you an autographed paperback of my new book, Tracker Hacker, which is the first book in the Codename Winger series, and I'll get that on the way to you when it comes out in the middle of October. If you would like to donate, you can go to biggayfictionpodcast.com/cycle2017 and see the donation page and donate whatever you can, because any amount is a good amount.
Indeed. And as we wrap up summer 2017, we want to thank all of our listeners who have stuck with us over the summer months, checking out each of our episodes. And we want to extend an additional thank you to everyone who have also, I'm getting my verb tenses. I don't know why I'm censoring myself. I'm editing myself. Oh, God.
Don't edit.
Verb tenses are, anyway.
Verb tenses are mean.
They suck. Anyway, as I was saying, a special thank you to everyone who has joined us on Patreon this summer. Now, remember, for as little as 25 cents an episode, you can help keep this podcast afloat by supporting us. Here I am trying to be extemporaneous again, and it's not working.
We were having extemporaneous issues right before we started recording as well.
Your pledge helps pay for the cost of producing and distributing this podcast. Really, truly, I know I kind of read the same thing every single week, but really, truly, it helps out immeasurably. You have no idea. For those fans who pledge at the silver and gold levels, you'll have the exclusive opportunity to ask questions of our upcoming guests. And we've got some good ones coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, any month that we have pledges that cover our monthly production costs, we'll produce a bonus show especially for our patrons on Patreon.
And we have 7 bonus episodes now that anyone who charged up their pledges can go over and check out and see what kind of wackiness we get up to over there.
Yeah. So you can get all the details on becoming a patron at patreon.com/biggayfictionpodcast. That's patreon.com/biggayfictionpodcast.
Yes. Now this week, I had the opportunity to talk to Jay from Joyfully Jay. September is her reading challenge month. They've done this. I believe she said this is her third year that the blog has done this massive challenge. If you haven't been following on the blog, they have an epic number of prizes this year from publishers and authors. It's amazing.
Yeah, I saw the list. It's like, what?
I know, right? There's some really good stuff over there.
Yeah.
And it's easy to enter to win because all you have to really do is read the books and leave some comments and some mini little reviews. So Jay's got full details on that. Plus, she recommends a couple books for us as well. So I'm excited to welcome back Jay from Joyfully Jay to the podcast. Welcome back.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you.
How are you here at the end of summer?
I'm doing great. All of our summer craziness is over, and now we're gearing up for back to school time. So a little bit crazy, but actually much calmer than it was the rest of the summer where we were all running around all over the place.
Well, you say calm, but you're gearing up for like one of the big things that your blog does, which is the reading challenge month.
Yes,
and
this
it's
is
looking
pretty much
pretty
turned
epic.
into our biggest event of the year. Actually, I'm really excited about it.
So tell us all about it. I've been reading some of the posts leading up to it, and it seems like you've got a lot going this year.
Sure. So, yeah, this is our third annual reading challenge month, and the way that it works is that each week for the month, starting September 4th, we have a different reading challenge. And this year we actually had a reader vote on the reading challenges. So these are all reader selected challenges. And each week there's a challenge, and it's sort of a two-part thing. First part is that my reviewers and I will all be reading challenge books that fit the different challenges. And then the second part is that there's a big reader component in that readers can earn entries to win prizes by participating. So you can either participate by commenting on any of the reviews that we do. You can earn an entry for every time you give a relevant comment on any of our reviews, and we usually have somewhere between 7 to 9 reviews a week, so that's a good opportunity. And then the second way, which is really fun, is they can enter by reading along their own book, either the same book that we read or a book of their own that meets the challenge. And then at the end of the week on Friday, when we do our little wrap-up post for the week, writing a mini review that they can post on that challenge post. So I've been really excited the last couple of years. We had great response from readers who read along with us and gave us their little mini reviews. And I mean, when I say mini, I'm talking about 3 or 4 sentences to a paragraph. It certainly doesn't have to be anything of the level that we write for the blog. And we've had really great turnout. And if you write a mini review, you can earn 10 entries for writing that review and reading along. So most weeks you can probably, if you participate in everything, earn 17 or 18 entries. So it's really exciting, and it's really great to get all that reader involvement. And so I'm really looking forward to this year seeing if we can get even more people participating and more more excitement for it.
You've certainly got some great prizes lined up.
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about those so that people kind of know what's coming?
Sure, absolutely. Yes, we have been really lucky over the past 3 years to have incredibly generous sponsorship of our contests. So the way it works is that each week is sponsored. 3 of the 4 weeks are sponsored by a publisher, and 1 of the weeks is sponsored by a group of authors who have made some donations. So I'll walk through what the prizes are and the challenges and let you know what's going on. First week is TBR Pile Challenge, which I think is a good one because anyone is like me, they have like 46,000 books in their TBR pile. So for TBR Pile, all we're looking for is a book that you've wanted to read for a year. It obviously doesn't have to literally be sitting on your Kindle, but something that you've been meaning to get to that sort of keeps getting pushed back. So this is a challenge we've done, in fact, for the last 3 years, and it was the top choice of our poll. So I guess everyone is like me, and they're itching to get into their TBR piles. So that one's sponsored by 9 Star Press, and they are giving away 4 $25 gift cards to their store. So $100 worth of prizes. We'll have 4 winners. And that should be great because then you can pick whatever you want from their catalog, and they've got some great stuff. And then the second week, which is another repeat challenge, and again, the second highest vote is New to Me Author Week. So this one is pick out a book that's written by an author you haven't read before. So again, a very easy reading challenge. And this week is sponsored by Riptide Publishing, and they're doing something they've done for the past couple years, which is they're giving out paperback advanced release copies of, I think it's 8 different books. All will be available prior to the book's releasing. So these are trade copies that they make to distribute early to different print reviewers and other things. And so these are paperbacks that don't even get circulated. So you'll get those in advance of them even releasing. So some of these might be weeks or even months before the books get out in circulation. And we do have to limit that for U.S. winners. So international winners will still win the books. They just won't win the paper copies because sending that huge box of books is a little cost prohibitive, unfortunately. Then our third week, I'm really excited about. This is a new one for us, and it's Self-Published Book Week. So we're going to be celebrating books that are self-published. And for this, the prize blew me away. I just put like a little note on Facebook, hey, anyone have a self-published book they want to donate? And we've got about over 70 books or sets of books that were donated. So we have so many prizes for this. I couldn't even make one winner because it would be absurd. So we have 7 prize packs. Each one is 10 to 12 books. A lot of them include a paperback, and some of them have multiple books that are in a series, all included. So each prize is 10 or 12 books, 7 different prizes, which is amazing. So we'll have a lot of Winners Self-Published Week. Be sure you are reading along that week. And if you're looking for ideas, you can look through our list of prizes and you can see a lot of the self-published authors, and maybe that'll give you a suggestion of something that you might want to read. And then for our last week, we have another new one. This one was actually suggested by one of my reviewers and, again, voted in by readers, which is Judge a Book by its Cover Week. And I'm really excited about that one because I'm like a total cover whore. I mean, if I see a cover I like, it will make me buy the book. And conversely, if I don't, I often will avoid the book. So I am really excited about this one because this is basically pick a book that is interesting you because you like the cover. So we're not going for try something that you hate, but this is a chance to sort of, if you see a cover that you really like that intrigues you, this is your chance to try the book and see if it lives up to the cover art. So that one's sponsored by Interlude, and they are giving away, I think it looks like roughly 10 ebooks, as well as a signed paperback advanced copy of Not Your Villain by C.B. Lee, which is a sequel to the excellent Not Your Sidekick, which I read and loved. So great prizes all 4 weeks. And then added to that, if you can believe it, we have a big grand prize. And so at the end of the month, all the entries for the entire month that have been accumulated will be entered to win the grand prize, which is sponsored by Dreamspinner. And once again, they are giving away a Kindle Fire loaded with tons of their books. So not only do you get all the books, but you get the reader to read it on. So I'm really excited about that. And I think, our sponsors are so generous and have given some great prizes. So I think that's going to be a really fun incentive to get people to participate.
That is amazing.
Yes.
The challenges sound fun. I particularly like the cover challenge because there are so many books that I look at and go, that's a really cool cover. I think I should try that. And so it's great to have a challenge around that.
Yes. Yeah, it's a fun one. I mean, it's a little bit trickier because you don't just have to read the blurb, you sort of have to find the book. But I think that it's going to be a fun one. And I'm really curious to see, what people pick because, cover art's very subjective anyway, and art in general is subjective, but I'm really curious to see, what kind of things draw readers. Interestingly, just looking through what we've picked, a lot of them are either animated or drawn covers versus photographic covers, which I don't know if that was just a coincidence or whether that is what we're all drawn to. But it was interesting to see how we all sort of gravitated toward very similar looks. So I'll be curious to see what readers choose for that and what grabs their attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what you guys pick for your covers because I'm already thinking about books that I have read because of the cover. And now I'm going to have to go surf through and see what I might pick for that week. So
Yeah. And actually, we just released on the blog a list of not every single thing that we're reading, because some of that, especially as we get towards later in the month, has to change a little bit as we fine tune things. But if you are on the blog, you can see a list of all the prizes spelled out in detail, all the specifics of the challenges, and then most recently we posted the list of most of the books that we'll be reading for the challenges. So again, it's not a requirement at all that you read the books that we're reading. Some readers like to do that every year and sort of follow along with something that we're reviewing so they can compare their thoughts to ours. But that's definitely not necessary. So you can see what we read, inspires anybody, and if not, you can pick your own books. And honestly, they don't even necessarily have to be GBLT romance. They can be anything. I think the whole idea of this is just to sort of push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, get you to try something you may not have tried, or pick up something you've been meaning to get to. So the challenges aren't designed to be really difficult as much as just sort of give you something to run with. So it's always fun to see what everybody chooses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We will definitely link up to all of those posts that you've got already out there in the show notes so that people can get ready for it coming next Monday, September 4th.
Right. Yep. It'll kick off Monday. In fact, Sunday afternoon, we'll have a post that will give you all of the details for the coming week, what the challenge is, what the books are we're reading, who's sponsoring it, the prizes, and then first book will, the first review will run on September 4th. And then again, it will run 4 weeks, the entire month of September.
Fantastic. It's a good way to get fall started.
It is. It's really, this was just like one of these rocks that hit me on the head brainstorms a couple years ago. And I really did not expect it to become such a big deal. But I was blown away that first year by responses. And every year when we talk about this, I get more people who said, oh, yes, I participated last year and I really liked it. So it's become, I think, our biggest event of the year, which is really exciting. So it's a nice way to gear into fall. And our upcoming 6-year anniversary actually is going to be that first week of the challenge. So that blows me away. I feel ancient.
6 years, congratulations.
I'm like the blog grandmother at this point in GBLT romance land. So so it'll be our 6-year anniversary that same week that we kick off.
You'll have to pop some champagne, too, as the challenge gets started.
I know. Of course, I'm so focused on doing stuff for Reading Challenge, I never have time to do anything for the anniversary. But still, I will be remembering it because I still remember starting out the little teeny blog and just me publishing once or twice a week. And, now we publish 25 times a week. So it's definitely things have grown.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're glad you're there, too, because it's a good resource for the community for sure. What have you been reading lately? Have you got a couple book recommendations for us?
Sure. One series that I'm really enjoying right now is the Fae Out of Water series by E.J. Russell. It is a Riptide Publishing book, and the second book in the series, Druid Next Door, just came out. The series, basically the premise is about 3 Fae brothers, and the first book is sort of a Beauty and the Beast theme. The story is actually called Cutie and the Beast, between a Fae kicked out of fairy, now psychologist to the supernatural community, who has been cursed with some major facial deformations and, again, kicked out of fairy. And so his young assistant, who is hired, who can sort of see past all of the physical and the grumpy surliness that he has, and they fall for each other. And then the second book picks up with his brother Mal, who has sort of a enemies to lovers, opposite attract connection with a druid environmentalist who lives next door, and their adventures. And then the third book comes out, I believe, in a couple of months, which picks up the story of the third brother. So what I'm really enjoying about this series is it's just fun and quirky and great banter between the characters. They all have a little bit of snarky spice to them, which I think is fun, and really interesting world building, the world of fairy. In the first book, we get to meet a lot of the different supernatural creatures because it's through the psychologist's office, all kinds of supernaturals come through. So it's a great introduction to the world. And each story is standalone romance with each of the three brothers, but there's sort of larger plot elements about what's going on in fairy and bad guys that sort of play a role that have carried over the first two books, and I assume will conclude in the third. So that series has been really fun. I also just read and reviewed the latest book in Eden Winter's Diversion series, which is called Reunion. And I really love this series, and for whatever reason, I don't think it gets quite as much attention as some of the other great romantic suspense series, but I really feel like this is a series that belongs up there. It features Lucky, who is a former lover of a drug kingpin who goes to jail before the first book starts and is then released into the custody of the Southeastern Narcotics Bureau. So basically he gets out of jail in exchange for working for them doing drug busts. So, and then with this, what appears to be very straight-laced, uptight new partner. So this follows them over, I believe this was the sixth book out, and their romance, but as well as the cases. So what I really like about this is that it's definitely sort of a police procedural investigative suspense, but the backdrop is the drug world, and in many of the books, the pharmaceutical drug world and what's happening there with illegal drug trafficking and illegal drug manufacturing, and sort of a side of it that you don't get in a lot of series. Mm-hmm. So great romantic suspense, great investigations, but also love Lucky and Beau. Lucky is not super personable. He doesn't really like people, but he loves Beau, and the two of them are very hot and steamy together, but also just a really great match. So I was excited for this last book in the series, or this latest book in the series. I'm not sure if this is the end, but it just reminded me how much I like this series and how I really think if you're a fan of suspense books, you totally should be reading the series.
Fantastic. Maybe somebody will pick up one of these books to read in the challenge.
Absolutely. Read it for your reading challenge.
All right. Well, Jay, thank you so much for telling us about the challenge and giving us some books.
No problem.
And again, happy 6th anniversary, too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you know that podcasts love to get reviews too? Taking a moment to leave a review about the Big Gay Fiction podcast helps us with the show's visibility online. Please take a moment to visit iTunes and leave a review. Your comments help other readers of gay romance discover this show. Thanks for helping us spread the word about the Big Gay Fiction podcast.
So I'm kind of tempted to do Jay's challenge. I think I could probably read at least a book a week. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it to take a prize away from anybody because I don't want to do that. But I think I would try to do the challenge because God knows my TBR is big enough. Your TBR is big enough. Doing the TBR challenge would be easy peasy. And I think even new to you authors would be pretty easy too. Because just in the GRL stuff that we've done so far this year, like I know I want to read books from Garrett and from Alex and some of these other folks that we've talked to. Mm-hmm. You've read Garrett, so I could just go read Garrett's book and have a new to you author done.
Yep.
Do you have plenty of new to yous?
I have. Oh gosh, yes. Now I have been busy this past week working and suffering through that first round of edits, so I don't have a book review to expound upon this week, which doesn't mean I haven't been reading. What I am sort of gearing up to do right now, I've got a specific list of books that I want to read before we head to GRL, so that when I meet certain authors, I have something to talk to them about. There are certain authors I want to meet, and I want to be able to intelligently converse about their art.
There you go. That makes sense.
So those books, I've got a small list of those. Those would count as from my TBR list. They are new to me authors. Most of them are actually self-pubbed, so they would also count in that category. Okay. As for reading a book based solely on its cover, I guess I could do that. That's not my usual habit, although covers do play an important role in choosing a book because it's marketing and it's the very first thing you see. It always catches your attention. So that is a part of my decision-making process. Mm-hmm. Is that what she's talking about? Is you just like going blindly to Amazon and scrolling through a list and picking a book that you like the cover of? Is that what she's talking about? Okay.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
And I could think of a few books that the cover was like, oh, I want to read a big. That looks good. That cover must have something good behind it.
Well, see, I do that as well, but then I investigate a little bit further. If it's an author I know or don't know, if I read the blurb and it's got tropes that I think are interesting, mm-hmm. or tropes that are challenging, I read. If I'm still not sure, I'll read the sample to get an idea of the author's voice and whether we click and I think it would be interesting enough to sustain an entire novel, that mm-hmm. kind of thing. So yeah.
I know the Jeff Garvin's book, The Symptoms of Being Normal. Symptoms
mm-hmm.
of Being Human?
Human, I believe.
Human, yeah. Symptoms of Being Human. That cover in Barnes & Noble struck me as like, what is this? And it's on the YA shelf. And I admit I read the blurb because there's so many things.
Well, yeah.
There's so many things that sit on the YA shelf that it could have been a really cool cover for something that could have been brilliant that I didn't want to read. And then there's covers like T.J. Klune's Murmuration. Mm-hmm. That cover struck me from the get-go. And it almost didn't matter what the book was about. It was the T.J. book, so it was bound to be good anyway. But that cover was so striking. So, interesting. Yeah. We'll see how the challenge plays out. And I look forward to seeing what Jay's folks are going to be reading as well.
Cool.
Wait.
You, Jinx. What? What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say you part of what you're reading is the brand new Dreamspun Beyond line.
Oh yes, actually, it's been almost a year and a half since our good friend Poppy Dennison came on the show and gave us the down low on the new line from Dreamspinner Press. The Dreamspun Desires line was expanding to include paranormal romances for Dreamspun Beyond, and that line finally debuted this past month, August.
July.
No,
August. You're right.
August.
We've got 4 books because September is mm-hmm. upon us.
Yeah, so we did subscribe, and we're getting the paperbacks every month in the mail. The first one is Out of the Ashes. It is a shifter story from our good friends Ari McKay. The next one, book 2, was Charlatan's Request by Vivian Dean. This one sounds really interesting. It's sort of a ghost hunters book.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, okay. I know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this one. The third book is Stalking Buffalo Bill. That came out this month. It's by J. Lee Bailey, a new-to-me author. And our good friend Shira Anthony has released Finders Keepers. I got the exclusive scoop on this particular book when we were at the Dreamspun conference in March. We sat and talked about Yuri on Ice, and I asked what she was up to, and she said, "Oh, I just turned in a book. It's a kitsune kind of fantasy novel. If you've been watching Teen Wolf, you know what a kitsune is, and you know what I'm talking about. It's got some sort of fantasy spirit, doorway to another world kind of elements. This one sounds really good too. I can't wait to read Shira. I love Shira all the time, so looking forward to getting started on these books. Like I said, my TBR is a little busy at the moment, so
you could practically do the entire challenge on these books.
Exactly.
You've got new to me author. There's some pretty good covers here.
Yes. Exactly.
And it's your TBR. The only thing you didn't do there was self-pub.
Exactly. So, if paranormal romance is your thing, we suggest you check out the Dreamspun Beyond line.
Yeah, and I'm sure as you knock those down, you'll start to review them on the show.
Oh, yeah.
So, while I was gone, despite everything else that was happening, I finished a book because I had been doing this audio for a couple weeks, and I, with the travel, got it done. Mm-hmm. I've been excited to read We Now Return to Regular Life by Martin Wilson since it came out earlier this summer. Martin had 9 years between the debut novel and the second book. Don't wait that long again, please. That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
Martin's What They Always Tell Us from 2008 has always been kind of a touchstone and inspiration to me when I write YA books. And to see him now come out and truly top himself with this book was pretty spectacular. In this one, you open 3 years in the past with 11-year-old Josh and 11-year-old Sam. They're friends, but they're friends who live across the street from each other in this subdivision in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which also added another layer of interest to me because I grew up there, spent a number of years down there. They're the kind of friends who hang out, but yet they bicker with each other, and they're in the neighborhood, so you hang out and you play and you do stuff. And they decide on this very hot summer day that they're going to ride off to the mall, which is a long way away. I know because I used to do a similar ride, but I was much closer than they were, to get a video game because they want to play this new video game. They don't get to the mall. They argue on the way. Josh is also assaulted from the side of the road and decides to go home. And Sam never comes home. Something happens. He's abducted. He's gone for 3 years. And now you jump forward 3 years, and Sam has come back. He's been found. He's been held by this man in Anniston for 3 years. And now everybody has to kind of put their life back together. Hence the title, We Now Return to Regular Life. For Beth, after finally coming to terms with the fact that her brother's gone and the fact that she never fully told the police what she knew about what happened, she has to now kind of readjust that Sam is back and what does that mean and how is Sam? Is Sam the same person? For Josh, he knows a lot he didn't tell the police. And so he's got that weighing on his mind. But he's also the only person who's essentially there for Sam. Their friendship comes back stronger than ever. And he's the one that Sam tells things to. Not his sister, not his parents. So it's Josh who finds out about these 3 years. The emotions in this book that Martin kind of draws out of everybody are pretty amazing. And I like that he chose to do the point of view here in alternating chapters between Beth and Josh. Mm-hmm. You would think this would be Sam's story about his return, but it is, but it isn't. Everything you get, of course, is from the other two characters. And all of it blended together makes quite a story. And I have to say, usually I either love or hate an ending. This one's a little bit of both, because I really didn't want it to end where it ended, but yet it made perfect sense to close it off where he did. I don't want to give too much away here on this, because the layers of story that come out as Sam tells these two, mostly tells Josh about his story, plus the coping that Josh and Beth have to do to find their way back to a normalcy in this world where Sam is back, while also putting to rest some of the demons that they've carried for 3 years, is pretty amazing. So the story structure just made, as an author, it was like, oh, this is so good. And as a reader, it was so tremendously satisfying. So if you want, this is in no way a romance, of course. But if you want to pick up a compelling YA novel, do check out We Now Return to Regular Life by Martin Wilson. And I will say the audiobook, which is performed by Whitney Dykehouse and Will Ropp, I believe is how you would pronounce that. They do an excellent job performing Beth and Josh and all the supporting characters that there are in the book as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So, TV. We talked a little bit about TV last week.
Mm-hmm.
And among some of our other summertime TV viewing, I've had such a blast with the reboot of Battle of the Network Stars on ABC. I was a little dubious of how this was going to come back, but they treat it as an appropriate homage to the late 70s, early 80s battles that we used to see on ABC a couple times a year. But they've widened it out, of course, beyond the 3 networks that existed at the time. And this time out, it's basically genre against genre. So you get superheroes and sci-fi characters against TV cops, and medical procedurals against government shows, and really a variety against generic ABC stars. This past week there was a great Love Boat reunion because Ted Lange was on, as was she played Vicky. What was her name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can't think of her name. Oh well, she played Vicky. So you had Isaac and Vicky. Actually, as they've done many times this summer, we've had people come back to Battle. So both of those people had been on Battle years ago. Lou Ferrigno was back a few weeks ago. The 2 guys from Chips, Eric Estrada and the other guy, Larry Wilcox, were both on. And they're back at Pepperdine University playing on the course in Malibu. And it's been a hoot and an enjoyable, like, summertime distraction. And you can probably catch it. I know you can catch them on ABC.com and ABC On Demand if you want to have a little fun that's retro, late 70s. It's kind of fun.
exactly.
I've also been watching Salvation on CBS. This is I don't know why I decided to do this, but I did it. And it's about this asteroid that's coming to Earth and the attempts to knock it off course so that it doesn't come blasting down and, knock out half the planet in one of those mass destruction events that so often happen in the movies. There's also a lot of political intrigue and U.S. versus Russia and subplots and computer hackers and a lot of beautiful people. I don't know how this show ended up on CBS. It looks like it belongs on the CW, I swear. But it's been interesting, and the plots have kept me coming back as everybody tries to work towards a mutual goal but can't quite get along enough to do it. And of course, it's summertime throwaway programming. But it's been a good time. So if you want, you can check it out on CBS On Demand or the CBS app. I think it'll wrap up in the next couple of weeks. It's coming up on episode 10. I can't see how it goes beyond 12 before the new season starts. So yeah, a couple TV recommendations.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, earlier this week, you talked to a special guest who was here as part of the 2017 GRL blog tour.
Indeed. Let's listen to see what Trina Lane's up to. Today I'm welcoming Trina Lane to the podcast as part of the 2017 GRL blog tour. Trina has been passionately addicted to romance novels since the age of 13 and enjoys almost all genres. Her only requirement is that all reads have a happily ever after ending. When she's not devouring a new book by one of her favorite authors or thinking up new storylines for one of her own books, you can usually find her watching a movie with her husband and cat, working with her other passionate obsession, which is photography, or listening to her iPod, or quite frequently a combination of all of the above. Welcome, Trina.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's wonderful. We're glad to have you here. Kind of wish I was in the coffee shop where you're hanging out because that would be a lovely afternoon pick-me-up.
They were very fortunate to turn down the music for me, so their Starbucks is doing good today.
Way to go, Starbucks. They usually do good on most days, I have found. So, tell me, what new books have you got coming out that we could look forward to seeing at GRL?
Well, my upcoming release is going to be I think it's the 6th book in my Perfect Love series. It is actually the ending of the series, and basically this one is set up so that it is a reunion of all the characters we've met in the previous books.
Awesome.
Early release is scheduled for September through Pride Publishing, and then general release will actually be the week right after GRL.
Nice. Good timing. Tell us a little bit about that series in general for folks who may not be familiar with it.
So it started out as it wasn't intended to be a series, which happens so often, I think, for authors. Start out with one idea and it kind of explodes from there. But it started out just as actually a MFM menage, and through the course of writing that first book, some sub-characters came into play and kind of just demanded that their own stories be written, and it kind of grew from there. So the concept of this final one is all of the characters from these previous 5 books are going on a big group vacation, and what's intended to be a whole lot of fun turns into utter chaos and pretty much just utter chaos as they find themselves embroiled in actually terrorism.
Wow, okay. Not what you want during your vacation, typically.
No, not usually. You don't expect to go to Hawaii and instead of sipping Mai Tais on the beach, you're ducking bombs. So.
So, what got you started writing?
I have been a storyteller in my mind for as long as I can possibly remember. Even going back to young childhood, my mom used to say she was always just talking to herself, or which may or may not be a good thing. But and when I started, getting older, I devoured books. Usually, as I reached those teenage years, they tend to be, started out with Nora Roberts and stuff like that when I was a teenager. And by the time I reached college, I kind of started to branch out into finding other genres. And writing-wise, I honestly didn't ever think to write a book. I was working on my doctorate, my dissertation for my other life. And I needed an outlet. I needed a stress relief in the midst of doing all that. So I started writing down this story that I've been kind of telling in my head during my daily commute. That doesn't necessarily sound good because it sounds like I'm a distracted driver, but I swear I keep my eyes on the road. And it just kind of went from there. I finished it. I sent it off to a good friend of mine. I said, "Hey, how does this sound? What do you think about this?" And she's like, "You should send it somewhere." And I did, and that's that.
That's wonderful. That's a good origin story for an author. That it started as the stories in your head, and then kind of just morphed its way into a career.
It's been fun. It is my stress relief. I have a full-time job. I have a family, and this is my me time.
Mm-hmm. So now you mentioned
with other people.
You mentioned you've got this series that's ending in September with the release of the new book. What have you got coming up in the future?
So my current work in progress is actually a sequel to my book that came out in January, which is Shards in the Sun. And so it will be a sequel to that, starring one of the other characters.
Nice. And what do you enjoy reading? Obviously, romance is a giant part of your reading, most likely, based on your bio information. Is it all romance all the time?
No, I'm actually a huge history buff, so I love reading books about not only periods in history, but events in history, both fiction and nonfiction. So it's usually one of those two. I've done so much reading for my career, my other profession, academic work, that when I choose to read for enjoyment, I tend to gravitate towards something that's a little bit more lighthearted, something that is entertainment versus biography and stuff like that.
Anything in particular you're reading right now you'd want to throw out a recommendation for?
I'm actually currently reading Country. I'm kind of working my way through that. I want to say Jeff Mann. Gosh, I'm not sure if that's right.
We'll look that up on Amazon before we put it in there, so we can put it in the show notes for folks.
I tend to read probably about 1 to 2 books a week.
Wow.
So,
I have to say that's impressive with, full-time job, family, writing your own stuff and still doing 2 books a week. I think it's amazing. I can't do that myself.
I don't sleep a whole lot.
That would help.
It's one of those things that I'm typically, I need the reading to settle my mind before I can sleep. So that is when it most often occurs. And then when I get a really good book and I can't put it down, I look at the clock and I go, oh crap, I gotta get up in 2 or 3 hours.
I've had that issue with some audiobooks before where it's like, I don't want to stop right now. Not right now. So tell us what your favorite thing about GRL is.
My favorite thing, honestly, is the people. Interacting and meeting new people, seeing friends that I've made over the years. That's my favorite part of it. I mean, the getting my name out and talking about my books, yeah, that's marketing. That's part of what we do. But I enjoy the social aspects, which is really ironic for an extremely introverted person. So.
But we hear this answer so often from folks, and I think it's just because you get all the introverts together, and we do okay with each other.
Maybe there's something to that. Absolutely.
Because we all know how to treat each other, so that we can be, have those moments separate when we need them, and we can be, forward when we need to, and I think it all balances out somewhere. So I know you want to do a giveaway for the listeners. Tell us what you've got.
So I would love to give the readers an opportunity to pick any book of their choosing from my backlist, e-format, and that way I'm not assuming they like one particular genre or one particular book, and they can choose what appeals to them.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll put a rafflecopter on the show notes page and run it for this week so that folks can get an entry in to have a running for that ebook. So what's the best way for people to keep up with you online?
Facebook. Typically, I do have a Twitter account, but I'll be honest, I'm not very good about it. So I do tend to try and get on Facebook and post things on Facebook at least every couple days.
Okay, awesome. We'll link to that in the show notes as well as to all of your books. And Trina, thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to seeing you in GRL in October.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing you too, and thanks so much for having me on.
The Big Gay Fiction Podcast is thrilled to once again partner with Gay Romlit as a featured blogger. You can see all the participating blogs and the full GRL blog tour schedule at gayromlit.com/2017 blog tour. Gay Romlit is an annual retreat that brings together the people who create and celebrate LGBT romance for a one-of-a-kind must-attend gathering of dynamic, informal, and diverse fun. Each year, the retreat travels to a new city and hosts tons of events from raucous parties to mellow tete-a-tetes while still maintaining a spirit of familiarity. GRL is the place to connect with old friends, find family you didn't know you had, and meet with both newly published and established authors in the gay romance genre. This year's retreat is set for October 19 through 22 in Denver, Colorado at the Denver Marriott Tech Center. For more information or to register, please visit gayromlit.com.
Hockey players Simon Roberts and Alex Miller never could have known that the moment they first kissed, they were embarking on the love of a lifetime. The Hat Trick box set is their love story, as told by Simon, beginning their senior year of high school through college graduation and beyond. From the insecurity of coming out to mentorship of gay youth. For Simon and Alex, it's always about love, family, and hockey. The box set includes 3 full-length novels and 3 short stories in one easy-to-download ebook. Get yours today at Amazon.com and other online retailers.
So don't forget to check out the rafflecopter on the show notes page this week for your chance to win a book from Trina Lane's backlist. I think that'll do it for this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Coming up next week in episode number 100, Andrew Gray is going to join us and talk about his receiving the RWA Centennial Award, along with what he's currently working on.
100.
Mm-hmm.
100!
That's a whole lot of books.
And a whole lot of episodes.
That's very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Wise deep thoughts from my co-host here. Co-host and partner in crime. Thank you for almost 100 episodes.
Indeed.
I'm pre-thanking you.
We'll be popping champagne or confetti or some such next week.
Some such. So, guys, remember, no matter where life takes you, the journey will always be sweeter if you have a book. Until next week, guys, keep reading.
For detailed show notes and the complete episode backlist, go to biggayfictionpodcast.com. New episodes are available every Monday on all major podcast distributors and YouTube. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.